Join our Patreon.
Do you really want to know? We are Mythvision.
Jim is basically bringing out what some scholars call the criterion of embarrassment. Just like they say, well, look at the trouble caused by the story of Jesus getting baptized by John the Baptist. He needed to go forward at a Billy Graham rally, essentially. That must have happened, because who'd have made it up? Well, not so fast, because Mark obviously showed no embarrassment about it, so he could have made it up, and some people say he did. It's only later Christian views that found it embarrassing. Well, the same thing might be true here. There are a bunch of these sayings where Jesus says, leave everybody and everything behind, give away all your money. In fact, in Luke 14, there's one of those. And who would have made that up? These passages we would like to scissor out of the Gospels if we could. Nobody ever preaches on them, and they make everybody uncomfortable. So mustn't Jesus have said them? No, because we know of a whole group of early preachers, missionaries, whatever you want to call them, who must have pointed to these sayings as their own credentials. They would quote, you can't be my disciple unless you give up all you own, etc. And we've done it. In fact, Peter actually says that in Matthew when Jesus says this to the rich young ruler, give away all you have and all that. And Peter says, well, we've left everything and followed you. What do we get out of it? And he says, well, in the new world, you'll have hundreds of times as much, albeit you're going to be persecuted in this world first. Well, in the same way, apparently these wandering brethren, or charismatics, or whatever you want to call them, that are mentioned in 3 John, the brethren have gone out into the nations and received no help from them, so we ought to provide for them. Or especially in Matthew 24, the famous sheep and goats passage, only in Matthew, where Jesus says to the goats, the rejects, the nations who rejected him, apparently. He says, you saw me hungry, naked, in prison, sick. You didn't lift a finger to help me. Oh, what do you mean, Lord? Had we known that was you, we'd have helped you in a split second. And he says, didn't you recognize me? Insofar as you didn't help the least of these my brethren, you left me in the gutter. And the same thing, the sheep. Blessed are you, blessed my Father, come into the paradise and all that. He says, when you saw me naked, starving, etc., in prison, you helped me. And I said, when did we see you in such straits? He says, insofar as you helped the least of these my brethren, you did it to me. Oh, well, good. And who are the brethren? Well, everybody says that it means the poor, that it's the famous social gospel passage. I'm afraid that's not the point. This is, you have to think back to the mission charge passages where Jesus says you go into one village and find somebody there who is worthy, and God's protection will protect the peace of God will protect that house. And don't bring supplies. The workman's worthy of his hire. God will take care of you through the largesse of the people you're preaching to. And but if they don't accept you, shake the dust off your feet and say, doom is coming to you, and we don't want it to consume us because we have some of your town on us. But know this, the kingdom of God has come close, a little too close for you. That's what he's talking about. His brethren are the wandering apostles or missionaries or whatever, the brethren. And why would you expect the people to have given them shelter, food, clothing? Well, because that's what he said would happen when people gave you respect and take care of your needs. Those who don't are the ones that rejected you, and you shook the dust off your feet. So he's talking about those nations who rejected the missionaries, and the missionaries are called his brethren. And so that seems to be the point. And this bears on the whole James thing, which I'll get to another time. That when James is the brother of the Lord, apparently I think most likely means that he was the head of the brotherhood of the Lord, a bunch of missionaries. So these people would explain who they were when they came into town and say, Jesus sent us out without any resources to be dependent on your generosity if you believe the gospel. And we did leave everything, so it was a credential, this boast you could make. This comes up in 1 Corinthians, where the writer says that we should be able to get our support from you, though I choose not to, because I don't want anybody to think I'm just using this as a racket, but that, yeah, we have the right to do that. And in 2 Corinthians, the opponents are saying, because Paul declines to take support from his congregations, he can't be a real Christian missionary because Jesus told them to rely on the generosity of others. And, oh, brother, you can't do anything right. Damned if you do. And so that seems to be the point, and people that would appeal to such radical passages might well have made them up, or have received a revelation, so to speak. Another one of those would be whoever in this sinful and adulterous generation is ashamed of me and my words, of him will the Son of Man be ashamed when he comes with his glory. He's going to wipe that smirk off your face. And and somebody originally forgot that the I was the one of the apostles or brethren, not Jesus, and he is invoking the Son of Man. Like, wait till I tell my big brother. So, yeah, it's very easy to imagine who would have made these up, to put the screws to people whose support they needed.
Join our Patreon.
We are Mythish.